Okay, we are now in chapter 9 of Exodus. I'm reading from the New King James Version. And I am Jenny, and this is Ripples of Faith. Thank you so much for coming here to share this time with me. I really appreciate it. And I just hope that you read along with me, or you can also listen. And I'm curious to see what you think about all these plagues that the Lord is putting on Egypt so that Pharaoh will release the Israelites and let them go. So, fifth plague, livestock diseased. Chapter 9, verse 1. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go into Pharaoh and tell him, thus say the Lord God of the Hebrews, let my people go, that they may serve me. For if you refuse to let them go and still hold them, behold, the hand of the Lord will be on your cattle in the field, on the horses, on the donkeys, on the camel, on the oxen, on the sheep, a very severe pestilence. And the Lord will make a difference between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of Egypt. So nothing shall die of all that belongs to the children of Israel." Then the Lord appointed a set time, saying, "Tomorrow the Lord will do this thing in the land." So God has put some sort of protection over the Hebrews or the Israelites so that their livestock is not going to be affected by this plague. And in verse 6, so the Lord did this thing the next day, and all the livestock of Egypt died, but of the livestock of the children of Israel not one died. And then Pharaoh sent, and indeed not even one of the livestock of the Israelites was dead. But the heart of Pharaoh became hard, and he did not let the people go. Now, this is really significant because for a couple reasons. Not only is it just more dead things that they're going to have to deal with, but it's affecting their food and it's affecting their transportation. So if they become so that they don't have enough food, they can't even, they could go on foot, right? But they can't ride a horse or a camel over to the next town or to another area to get more food for them. So it's starting to become a hardship on Egypt. But again, God is still protecting his people. Now we're going to talk about the sixth plague, boils. And this is in verse 8. So the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Take for yourself handfuls of ashes from a furnace, and let Moses scatter it towards the heaven in the sight of Pharaoh. And it will become fine dust in all the land of Egypt, and it will cause boils that break out in sores on man and beast throughout the land of Egypt." And they took the ashes from the furnace and stood before Pharaoh, and Moses scattered them towards heaven. So he took these ashes and he just kind of threw them up into the air, into the wind. And they caused boils that break out in sores on man and beast. Everybody was affected. And the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boils were on the magicians and all the Egyptians. But the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not heed them, just as the Lord had spoken to Moses. You know what I find interesting about this? He took handfuls. He didn't take great big, huge amounts of ashes and just spread them everywhere. It was handfuls. This sounds like two to me. I could be wrong. But he took like one handful and threw it up, and one handful and threw it up. And remember back when we were reading in Matthew, when the Lord took the loaves and fishes, there were just a small amount of food, and he multiplied that to feed the crowd when Jesus was doing the Sermon on the Mount. This is kind of a similar act here, not to feed people, but to curse people. It was just a small amount of dust, and he threw it up in the air, and it became a plague upon all of those in Egypt and on Pharaoh, who was extremely disobedient. But the interesting thing is the Lord still protected the Israelites and the Hebrews. Okay, so the seventh plague, hail. Verse 13, then the Lord said to Moses, "Rise early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh and say to him, thus say the Lord God of Hebrews, let my people go, that they may serve me. For at this time I will send all my plagues to your very heart and on your servants and on your people, that you may know that there is none like me in the earth. But now if I had stretched out my hand and struck you and your people with the pestilence, then you would have been cut off from the earth. But indeed, for this purpose I have raised you up, that I may show my power in you, and that my name be declared in all the earth. As yet you exalt yourself against my people, and in that you will not let them go. Behold, tomorrow, about this time, I will cause a very heavy hail to rain down, such as not been seen in Egypt since its founding until now. So they're going to have the worst hailstorm they've ever seen. Therefore, send now and gather your livestock and all that you have in the field, for the hail shall come down on every man and every animal which is found in the field and is not brought home, and they shall die. He who feared the word of the Lord among the servants of Pharaoh made his servants and his livestock flee into the houses, but he who did not regard the word of the Lord left his servants and his livestock in the field. This is interesting. So he's saying, first he's saying, stop messing with my people. Okay? Then he's saying, because you didn't listen, I'm going to send this hail. Now I'm telling you right now, the hail's coming. Get your people and your animals, whatever's left after the last plague, get them in the house, because this hail, you've never seen hail like this before. You need to get them in the house or they're going to die. And some of the people in Egypt are starting to catch on. So they're bringing their servants and their animals into the barns and the houses, but not everybody. And the Lord said to Moses, this is in verse 22, the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward the heaven, that there may be hail in all the land of Egypt, on man, on beast, on every herb of the field throughout the land of Egypt. And Moses stretched out his rod toward heaven, and the Lord sent thunder and hail, and fire darted to the ground, and the Lord rained hail on the land of Egypt. So there was hail and fire mingled with the hair, so very heavy that there was none like it in all the land of Egypt, since it had become a nation. And the hail struck through the whole land of Egypt, all that was on the field, both man and beast. And the hail struck every herb of the field, and broke every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, there was no hail. So this was pretty severe, okay? Not only has God destroyed their livestock, but now he's also destroying whatever livestock is left, and the servants if they're foolish enough to stay out, but also all the herbs of the field. So all their grain, all their the vegetation, the trees, is striking down the trees, anything that's left to eat. He's really going towards putting food on the table for the Egyptians. He's taking away their food and their safety. Verse 27, and Pharaoh sent and called for Moses and Aaron and said to them, I have sinned this time. That's different. The Lord is righteous, and my people and I are wicked. Entreat the Lord that there may be no more mighty thundering and hail, for it is enough. I will let you go, and you shall stay no longer. This Moses here looks like some people that I've met in my life. I say this based on the fruit that I see, okay? They know who the Lord is. They know that the Lord is holy. They know the Lord is righteous. They know that things get tough. They say, yeah, please God, take this away from me. I can't take it anymore. The Lord takes it away, just like he did for Pharaoh. God, in effect, God is listening to Pharaoh through Moses. Every time Moses says to the Lord, he intercedes for them. The Lord takes these plagues away. But Pharaoh never has a change of heart. His heart just keeps getting harder and harder and harder. So here we are in verse 29. So Moses said to him, as soon as I have gone out of the city, I will spread up my hands to the Lord, and the thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, that you may know that the earth is the Lord's. But as for you and your servants, I know that you will not yet fear the Lord. See? And I think Jesus does this too, for the same people that I'm talking about who cry out to the Lord and they do get relief. The Lord does answer their prayers. So, some people teach that unless you're saved, the Lord won't answer your prayer. I don't particularly believe that because, for one thing, it would make asking forgiveness impossible. Okay? You can't say that the Lord doesn't answer the prayer of an unsaved person. Sometimes that answer prayer may be the thing that shows them how powerful God is. So we shouldn't be saying that the Lord does answer prayers of unsaved people and wicked people. Not always. A lot of times not the way they wanted it to, because the Lord will choose who he blesses and who he curses, and that's somewhere in here too. But there's so much it's so interesting here how this is going. As soon as I've gone out of the city, I will spread out my hand to the Lord, the thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, that you may know that the earth is the Lord's. But as for you and your servants, I know that you will not yet fear the Lord. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You have to understand that sooner or later, that's it. God's done. And there's a lot of people, I don't know that they really get to that point. So verse 31, now the flax and the barley were struck, for the barley was in the head and the flax was in bud. But the wheat and the spelt were not struck, for they were late crops. So it's explaining that they hadn't lost all of their crops, but they did lose the flax and the barley because of where they were during the time from when they were planted to when they're harvested. And different plants have different growth times and whatnot. But the wheat and the spelt, and I'm not even sure what spelt is, they weren't struck because they're late crops. So it was just like they had a heavy rain on them. They're still like, I don't know about spelt, but I know that wheat is like a grass and it gets these heads of seed on the top of it. So they hadn't gone to seed yet. In verse 33, so Moses went out of the city from Pharaoh and spread out his hand on the Lord, and the thunder and hail ceased, and the rain was not poured on the earth. And then Pharaoh saw that the rain, the hail, and the thunder had ceased. He sinned yet more, and he hardened his heart, and he and his servants. So the heart of Pharaoh was hard, neither would he let the children of Israel go, as the Lord had spoken to Moses. The Lord knew it.